imagine, if you will, a world without chips. Disasters, right? But this is a potential crisis that we are facing. So potatoes, like the human skin, can be susceptible to bacteria in exactly the same way. If you get cut in your hand, bacteria can get in. Potatoes are exactly the same. And part of this is because they live in the soil. So a lot of people don't know that soil is basically a microbial war zone. And just like the human war zone, the bacteria are fighting for space, they're fighting for nutrients, but also what they're doing is they're creating weapons. And this is what I'm interested in. So bacteria produce these weapons that are called bacteriocins. These are small proteins. They're really specific and they're really targeted, so they're good for the development of new antibiotics. And specifically what I'm interested in is this bacteria, Pectobacterium, which is really gross. So Pectobacterium is a really nasty organism that causes thousands of pounds worth of crop damage every year, both in the first world and in the developing countries, and there's no cure. So as soon as it takes hold, that's it. But if we can harness a bacteria's weapon against it, then we can potentially cure it. So what are bacteriocins? Bacteriocins are targeted but intraspeciesly. So basically what they are is you have one bacteria of the same species, and it produces this protein that kills a bacteria of the same species, because then it can gain the nutrients. And the reason that this protein is so interesting is because it uses the Trojan horse strategy. So what it's done is it's used iron. So iron is essential for all life on Earth, and it's really scarce in the environment. So what happens is proteins sequester the iron, so they steal it, and they keep it for themselves. And in this host species in plants, they do it by keeping it in these small proteins. But this bacteria has developed a way of taking this iron from this protein and using it for itself. So what it's done is it's also used that as its weapon. So it's taken this protein and stuck it onto a killing domain and used that to trick other cells into taking it up. So imagine when you're younger and you've got blocks, and you've got round blocks and square blocks, and round blocks go into round holes, but they don't fit into square holes. This is how the surface of a bacterial cell works. So if you can make something look like a round thing, and it will go through a round channel, that is how you can get into the cell and drag something with it. So what they've done is they've taken this small protein, stuck it as cytotoxic, which is a killing domain, onto the end of it, and it tricks the cell into thinking it's nutritious, it's full of iron, and it binds and it drags it through, killing the bacteria in the process. So what I'm looking at is the intricacies of this mechanism. I use X-rays, I use neutrons, and I look at these proteins in a really small way, just on their own, and just to see what they do, what they look like, and how they work. So why is this important in the grand scheme of things? So the reason this is important is because this causes huge famines across the world, because it kills all the potatoes. And this is quite a highly used crop across the world. And so the reason that this is important is because if we can harness this and use the bacteria's own weapon against it, we can develop a really good weapon that can be used all across the world.